Hello everyone and welcome back. Guess what? It's Wednesday and we're back in for another one of our sessions on how to cope without therapy. And as I promised you yesterday, I will go on with this series for a little while until I find something interesting to interrupt it. I will go on about buzzwords and how we end up using empty words that don't necessarily mean something, and we distance ourselves of by default, even by everything around us. Everything you hear, everything tends to imprint on you with some sort of sugar-coated fakeness or selling you some sort of a fantasy bit. Today I was even thinking I had to drive into the city for work today, and listening to the radio, these ads all kept popping up. Don't miss this opportunity. These will not last long. Take the opportunity. And I'm thinking, damn opportunity. There are so many out there that they're almost making you afraid to miss one. There's so much pressing on that button with don't miss this opportunity. And you know what? Miss the opportunity. In the end of the day, it's not life and death situation. It's just advertising. And when it comes to missing those opportunities, perhaps here's the buzzwords that we're gonna focus on today. It's more so an expression. You know how sometimes people say, oh, don't take things so personal, and we all take things personal. We blooming do. Because by default you say something, and what am I supposed to do with that? I'll give it a thought, right? So today I want to talk to you about using our brains. And on the scientific side, I will highly recommend and invite you to see anything of the work of Sam Varkin. Sam is you would not believe the combination, professor of finances and psychology at some really prestigious university. He's also an author of an interesting book, The Malignant Self-Love, and he dedicated quite a lot of years to narcissism, love and life and with and around one or more. But we're not going to talk about that. Nothing about narcissism. It's just that I happened to watch one of his videos, one of Sam Varkin's videos last night. And before getting into his specialist topic, he actually talked quite amazingly about our brain and how we use our brain and how much we do not know about our brain. It was fascinating to listen, and it is still a mystery. How does our brain function? And perhaps the more we're trying to discover, the less we figure out, and the more we realize we blooming don't know anything. At some point he also mentions something about serotonin, and according to studies, believe it or not, serotonin is not a brain product. It actually comes from your gut. So when you have the other expression, as in there's a weird, I don't know, but I just got this weird feeling inside. When people do that, usually they gravitate their hands towards their stomach, towards their intestine, And that's exactly where it comes from, believe it or not. But going back to the brain and how it functions. In Sam's video, there was another reference to something that actually was the bit that captured my attention. And he was talking about this recent discovery of a huge neural area in the brain that sort of we had no clue about it. Scientists managed to get a glimpse of it, and apparently it affects all of the parts of our brain, like an instant propagation, if you'd like. And in his talk, he was also using quite simple words, nothing buzzing, and the part that captured my attention was around the whole we don't even understand how our brains interpret everything. And having discovered all of this new region, scientists they've realized that the brain neural stimulation reacts and changes even with simple talking to each other, talking to another person. Just talking produces changes to the brain, which is mesmerizing, which literally, as he put it, because of the changes that happen in such a manner, we're not the same person we were 5 minutes ago. We are not, we are just constantly fluid and learning and interpreting and reacting. Maybe reacting is the wrong buzzword nowadays, but I guess think of it this way. We receive information, be it sensory information or in whatever form, or all of them for that matter, and then this wonderful thing happens up here. It almost like, perhaps the best description would perhaps the best analogy would be, think of it of the ocean and the waves and the vastness of it, along with how the waves become and dissipate at the inflection of wind, and it's perhaps the best analogy I can think of. Think of waves, right? Now, that ocean of a brain that each and every one of us we have, the moment we receive information, we don't stop at factually interpreting it. That would be magical, or not magical, probably just super logical, and we would all be Spock. But aside from rationality and logic, in direct interpretation, factual interpretation of the information, our brains alter, filter, interpret, try to make sense, put that information in a configuration or a pattern, or they're trying to fit it in to something else that happened before, or they're trying to interpret it with the directionality of a maybe it means this. It's entirely unpredictable how our brains filter or interpret, or literally they manipulate sensorial information and conceptual information. So put all of this together, and when it comes to using your brain, I guess that product, that thought that forms itself and takes shape after all the filtering and the analyzing and the manipulating and the interpreting and the making sense and all of that happen by the brain, it illuminates a thought, as in the final optimal interpretation of that information. You've given me this, I've interpreted, manipulated, filtered, altered, tried to make sense of it, and I give you that. And that is your thought. And that is the part that we're encouraged to use. Please don't ever think you're missing an opportunity. You're purely expressing by choosing to take an opportunity or not, talking or not, being part of something or not, letting someone in or not. It's well and truly a shaped, final framed product of an amazing machinery and thought that we all have. There's something else that I read recently, and I'm going to leave you with this bit. And it said, I don't remember the quote and who wrote it, but it said something along the lines of, you literally are the sum of the mistakes that brought you to be you today. So, mistakes, opportunity, choices, it's entirely up to you and how you allow your ocean to interpret everything around you and everything within you. So please use your brain. Not that you're not, but don't get trapped. Don't get trapped into these everyday buzzwords that are just bombarded at us. Use your brain. It's a blooming, awesome machinery that we know nothing about, but for some amazing miracle, it keeps all of us in check, more or less. Some days better, some days okay. And on this thought, I'd like to thank you very much. I'm Gabriela, and I shall see you tomorrow. Thank you.